The Afghan security forces have the capacity to sufficiently fight and defend their country. And we will continue to support the Afghan security forces where necessary in accordance with the guidance from the President and the Secretary of Defense. The future of Afghanistan is squarely in the hands of the Afghan people. And there are a range of possible outcomes in Afghanistan. And I want to emphasize repeatedly, and I've said this before, a negative outcome, a Taliban automatic military takeover, is not a foregone conclusion.
Live on tape from Radio City in Florida, it's Johnny Sexton's World, featuring Johnny Sexton.
Boy's got a mouth like a cannon, always shooting it off.
Today, let's take a pseudo-intellectual trip into politics, music, entertainment, comedy, and more politics, all from the world of Johnny Sexton.
Great heavens! What kind of radio show is this?
Today's show is brought to you by Kool-Aid, the favorite drink of lefties everywhere. Kool-Aid now comes in Angry Apple, Go 80 Grape, Raging Raspberry, Certifiable Strawberry, and Looney Lemon. Kool-Aid is endorsed by the Center for Disease Control.
Oh, this is turning out to be a total waste of time.
And now, because all his clothes are in the laundry and he can't leave the studio naked, Johnny Sexton.
It's go time.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm Johnny Sexton. This is Johnny Sexton's World. Man, it is a weird day today. And to watch the Afghanistan people crumble the way they did, it is sickening, first of all. And mostly because, let's be straight about this, okay? We really, on a whole, don't care much about the Afghanistan people, the Afghanis. What we do is we see the pain and suffering of people hanging on planes and coming off planes like they were. And we don't want that to be ourselves. We grew up back in the 60s, 70s, in the cradle of World War II veterans. A lot of our grandfathers fought in World War I. Parents were born during the Great Depression. And you might be younger and listening to me, yes. But if you're younger and listening to me, your grandparents were part of what they call America's greatest generation. World War II veterans. Your great-grandparents fought in World War I. But the further we get down the line, the more we forget. We don't remember World War II. We don't remember why it started. Oh, we remember Hitler and Stalin, and mostly Hitler, because they just keep bringing him up every chance they get when they talk about Nazism. But there are a lot of countries involved in that. But I'm losing my train of thought here. But what we look at now is the people in Afghanistan had an army that turned tail and ran. This was one of the reasons why we were going to pull out anyway. The Afghanis really don't want to fight. They didn't want to learn how to fight. They give it a half-hearted try, but they don't want to fight. They want us to fight their battles. Now, I understand pulling out the way we pulled out was not right. And if you understand, the gentleman in the beginning of the show, that was our Joint Chief of Staff, the highest general in the land, Mark Miley. And Mark Miley is basically the guy whispering in Joe Biden's ear, telling him, everything's going to be good. Don't worry. We're going to pull out. You know what? They're not going to take over right away. We talked to them. We talked to the Taliban, and we said, hey, let us leave peacefully, and don't come in yet, and turn your back and then take over a little bit later. That's what we told them. And we believed that they were okay with that. They're like, yeah, sure, giving us the old okie dokie. Here you go. Yeah, not a problem. Yeah, we're not going to take over right away. You got to be kidding. Take everyone you want out. Yeah. And then they saw their chance to embarrass the hell out of us on a national stage. And that's what they did. Now, if Biden tells you he didn't see this coming, he's the biggest idiot I've ever seen. Because I don't care what he said during that speech today. In fact, I didn't watch it, but I did see one snippet of him saying, well, if we would have waited till May 31st, it would have been the same thing. No, it would not have. Well, it might have been if you had done it. Yes, you moron. Because what it was you took a decent idea by Donald Trump, and here was Trump's idea. Trump's idea was not to pull everyone out right away. Trump had a deal with the Taliban where he would go into one region and pull the people out of there. And then let the Taliban do what they wanted after everyone's gone. Next region, same thing. Next region, same thing. And the Taliban said, okay. Do you know why they said okay? Because Trump told them face to face, hey, if you don't let us have a peaceful coalition government here in Afghanistan, after we leave, we're going to come back in, and not only are we going to come back in, we're going to kill you, your family, and everyone you know. And if you don't believe me, just look at your second in command who's dead, okay? You know how we did it, right? And that's what we'll do with you guys, with drones. We'll find you, we'll kill you, your family, and everyone you know. And you know what? They believed him. Everyone wondered why we made that strike on that Taliban guy, the number 2 in command. Well, that's the reason. It was to scare the shit out of them, to let them know that we meant business when we were pulling out of Afghanistan. I mean, they don't really report everything that they do, but that's exactly the way it was. But here comes old Grandpa Joe going, oh, everything's okay. He's got Mark Miley, Joint Chief of Staff, in his ear going, oh, yeah, everything's fine. Don't worry. Don't worry. They got 300,000 troops. And they're going to be just fine. Perfect. What they didn't realize was the government stopped paying the soldiers and giving them food. So when the Taliban came in, they just rolled over and let them walk through. Of course they would. They weren't trained well. They just did exactly what the Taliban knew they were going to do because they were a weakened army. And the reason why I bring up our army is because over time, may not be now, it's definitely not now, it may not be 20 years from now. But those people hanging off that plane, those people running with that plane down the runway, those people hanging in flight and falling off in flight, in 20, 30, 40 years, that could be your child, your grandchild, your great-grandchild doing it in this country. Because I'm going to be honest with you, I have looked around, and 2015, I said to one of my friends, this country is quickly turning into a third world country. But I never realized how quick it would turn. And if you don't think it can happen, if you have a World War II veteran hanging around somewhere, there are 1,100 World War II veteran fighter pilots around. Ask him in 1944 if he thought this would ever happen to this country. Ask him if he ever thought this would ever happen to our military. Ask him if he ever thought we would be embarrassed by a couple of sand monkeys over in Afghanistan. And I say sand monkeys, and I mean it with all due respect, because, hey, listen, they are not nice people. But they do know how to fight. They do know how to fight. They are experts in killing women, children, men, anyone. But they are expert killing machines. Like I said, we may not agree with everything they do, which we don't, and we shouldn't, because that's our culture. But guess what? That's the culture they are trying to infect us with over here. So like I said, years from now, that person hanging off that plane could be one of your descendants. Just remember that. So the toll over in Afghanistan, very simple. Over 1,000 ISIS criminals that were in Afghan prisons have been released now. 1,000. Do you think they're going to go home to their families and have dinner? You think they're going to go home for some kind of Taliban holiday? No. 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 They are going after Americans. That's what they're doing. Here, case in point. Okay? Case in point. And you guys have to know that I do my homework for you. I don't make up things. We don't deal in conspiracy theories, and we don't deal in hyperbole. We talk the truth. Paul Sperry. Paul Sperry, who is a writer for the New York Post, and I mention his name because I am going to quote word for word out of his story, because I can't write this good. This is how it starts. When then-President Barack Obama released 5 Taliban commanders from the Guantanamo Bay prison in exchange for an American deserter in 2014, he assured a wary public the dangerous enemy combatants would be transferred to Qatar and kept from causing any trouble in Afghanistan. In fact, they were left free to engineer Sunday's sacking of Kabul. Soon after gaining their freedom, some of the notorious Taliban fighters pledged to return to fight Americans in Afghanistan and made contacts with active Taliban militants there. So do you think these people are going home after they're, basically get a prison break? 1,000 prisoners. All right, think about that. Like I said, they're not going home. They're not driving in their car in the countryside of Afghanistan. No, they're going to fight us somewhere. They are out to try to kill us. They are the threat. Not that this country or the administration currently wants you to think they're a threat, but they are a big threat. Here it is, okay? They will tell you, and Mark Miley gets up there and tells you, general, idiot, moron, whatever he is, he'll get up and tell you, and then Biden gets up and says, well, Jake, I don't want you to go, George. I don't know what happened. I didn't think that was going to happen. That's not going to happen. We're not going to have people standing on top of the buildings being lifted by helicopter. No, we're just going to have people hanging off of goddamn planes, you fucking moron. Here, now, these are not dumb people that run the administration. They are just not people smart. They think that the Taliban is fine and they're going to listen. These are the people who did the same thing in the Obama administration. It is the same gang of people that run our president's cabinet. The same people who, hey, when they got out of Iraq, remember they left Iraq and they didn't think that ISIS was going to do anything, and then ISIS went in and took over the city right away and we had to go back in and clean it up? They are the same people who went through Libya, and what they did was, they went through Libya, took over the government, installed the new government. They said, okay, everything's fine. They left there. What happens? Militants come in, and they take over the government. Same thing in Syria. And now, the same thing here in Afghanistan. It's the same idiots, and it's the same play over and over and over again. If it sounds unprecedented, it's not. It's not unprecedented. This is a plan that they have. I don't know what the fucking plan is, but it is a plan. So now here's the cost of the basic toll of what happened here, okay? We spent $2,261 billion in Afghanistan. 2,448 American service members died in the 20 years there. 3,846 U.S. contractors died or were killed. 66,000 Afghan military members killed, and 47,245 Afghan citizens killed. And then we just